Hey guys, welcome back to the Homestead. We're working on some more Hardie board today, and I thought we would kind of go a little bit more in depth on what we're having to do to get this Hardie board installed on this ICF house, this insulated concrete form. If you're unfamiliar with that, it presents some unique challenges, especially when installing Hardie board. So one of the things we're having to do here, you see all these metal strips. We had to mark these lines because this portion of the house was exposed to the elements for a while, and some of the original lines that they put on these Nudura blocks have faded away. So we had to find the studs and go through. There's a stud every 8 inches, luckily, on this particular brand of ICF. So basically the point of these bridges, as I'm calling them, is we're fixing to install trim here. This is where the siding will terminate. And personally, the way I always do siding and the way I've ever seen anyone else do siding, it's best to put your trim board on first and establish your termination points, because that way you don't end up with some weird gaps here at the end and stuff like that. And that's why we had to end up redoing a lot of this siding. But anyways, the point of these bridges is that they get into a stud right here with a couple of screws, and it allows me to terminate the siding and still have something to attach it to. Now you can see they're kind of bowed out here, but there's another strip right here, another stud. So whenever I put my siding on, so the way it'll work out is every corner should end up like that. We'll have a screw right there and a screw right here. That way this whole side is nice and attached. And of course then we'll come along and caulk between the trim and stuff like that. But I wanted to give you guys a shot of that. Later on, when we're actually attaching this Hardie board, we'll come back and I'll show you the process. All right, guys, I just wanted to show you what it looks like with the trim board installed here. You can see the metal strips push down quite a bit as I suck this board in, so it's all working out great for me. I've got a caulkable gap here, so I'm happy with all that. And one other step I did was I put a little bit of this window flashing stuff behind this corner, just because I thought, you know, if water ever did infiltrate back behind there, then it would stay on top of that tight seal and then run down and escape before it got into the building. So it's working out really well. Now all we have to do is measure from here to here, figure out what our gap needs to be here and our distance, and start screwing these on, and we're good to go there. So but before we do that, you know, of course we have to run the very bottom course. And you can see the previous owners, in their attempt at this siding job, they screwed these strips here on, and that part of it's right. You have to have a little strip down there at the bottom to kick out, but look at these gaps here. Of course, that's big enough that if I just screwed on some siding, you know, a mouse could crawl right up in there and live happily right behind my siding right here, and I don't want that. So I'm gonna have to pull all these boards off that they put on. For one, they put them on a little too low as well, so where we're hanging the siding, they need to be raised up just a slight bit. And we're going to change over to these cedar strips that we have. But anyways, when we come back, we'll have all those installed, and there won't be any gaps that insects and mice and stuff like that can crawl up in, you know, inside of the house. One other thing we're going to have to work out is we have to have a cold air port here. This is for a wood stove. Although the wood stove was installed in the wrong location, this is for a cold air inlet. Of course, we don't need it to be that big. We're going to go with 2-inch PVC, and that way it allows us to hopefully get above or below the joint of where the siding is going to overlap, you know. So it's lap board. This bottom one will go on first, and the next one will overlap it. So we'll either have to go up or down so that we're not coming out right over the split. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And we're going to do a I'm just coming out with a 90-degree elbow, and then we're going to turn it straight down. We're going to try to put it up as high as we can because we get a lot of snow out here, and you don't want your air intake to get blocked off by a snow drift or something. So also, I bought one of those threaded screw caps so that, you know, while we're not using the thing, I can screw that in and no insects, bugs, or air or anything like that can get through there. When we're all done and we've got it located, I'll come in on the inside and I'll foam up the rest of this 6-inch PVC here. That way there's no way any air or anything like that can get into the building. It's coming along. Love it. Great work environment. Alright guys, here's that bottom kick-out board, as I'm calling it, or a furring strip that you have to run all the way along the bottom. As you can see, we use cedar. This stuff's about probably somewhere around 1/4 inch thick, I would guess. Maybe just a little bit wider than that, but it's just perfect. And the idea is when you put this very bottom board on here, let's see if I can show you this. When you put this bottom board on, that kick out mimics the angle that you need to go all the way up the wall there. So it repeats the same, the same angle. If it just went on flat like that, it just wouldn't look right. So you normally put out a furring strip or a kick out board along there, but yeah, I've been crawling all along the ground here, getting this thing prepped up. Tomorrow we're gonna go real hard. I've still got to do the kick out board down there on that side, but we're gonna go hard tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get the whole bottom course on this wall and this next wall started and get it done all the way along the bottom, and then we'll come back on this side and start laying it out. Hey guys, welcome back to Hands On channel. Today we're continuing on putting on this Hardie board on this ICF house, and I thought I'd show you some of the little techniques we've had to develop to get this stuff to stay attached to the wall. You can't really use nails on this application. Hardie board likes nails better. It's hard to screw on, but we're fixing it. You'll see what I have to go through here to get these, one board hung. But on this stuff, you got to watch out, because even cutting it, it can be brittle down near the ends, and you see how this corner is chipped out. So I've decided on this one, I'm going to put this up to the top so that the next board comes down and covers that chip and pinches it, and you'll never see it. It won't be a problem. But first we got to get our other gecko clamp on. So we'll grab that and just slightly pull out on the bottom of the wall, slide it up in there, and clamp it on. And actually I'm going to go on the other side of that screw because I need to get my level underneath right here. So we grab our board, inspect it. Slide it down till you're on top of the notch on the gecko clamp. Get your gap right, however much spacing you want between each side. I'm going with about 1/8 of an inch. And you can see here on another video, or another part of this video, we talked about these metal straps, and you see they're kind of sticking out right now, but that won't be a problem, because as we screw down, what I've been doing is leaving it out here on this step on the first run, and then I come back in later and put it on over the top so that it pulls it all down and flattens all of this out. So all right, here we go. First we got to level. Make sure, even though they should always be on level, because these repeat the process, but sometimes there's inconsistency with this Hardie board. It'll have a little bit of a, maybe the top or the bottom will be a little bit off, and you'll have to flip it over to get it right, or get a different board, whatever. But what I found, the best thing I found to continually drill through this stuff for these screws is this particular bit here. It's a masonry bit. I bought this one new for this trip, so I haven't used this the entire time. The smaller ones you will wear out a little quicker, but this large one here, I've been running this the entire time for my countersink. So hopefully that gives you an idea. You can use countersinks, but they only standard wood countersinks, but you'll only probably get maybe 12 holes out of it before it's too dull to push through. So they make nice holes, but they wear out too fast, and for the price of them, this is the way to go. So what you want to do is put your hole to where when the next board comes down, 1 inch is what we're doing, a 1 inch overhang. So when that next board comes down, this screw will be covered, ideally. So we drill through first with a masonry bit, and I'm only doing 2 here because I'm going to come back through and cinch it down over the middle. So you'll see, it'll all make sense in a second. And we had to mark our lines here so that we know where our plastic studs are. Luckily, we have a lot of them. So I'll switch over to the larger bit. And I'm not running this really fast. I'm running it kind of slow. And after a minute or two, you kind of get the idea of how deep to go with them. Although many times I've had to take the screw back out and run it a little bit deeper. So normally what I do is put this left side in first. Doesn't matter, you could do the right side, but just one side or the other. And if it does that and pushes out off the wall, you can reverse the drill and push that through like that in reverse, and it will kind of open up that hole for you so that you can get into the plastic, go slow. And can you see how it's pressing in as I tighten up? And I could go crazy and really make it go in, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just getting it to where it's nice and tight against that foam. So now that I have that one screw in, I still have a little adjustability if I'm out of level. So we check it again. We're right on the mark. We're ready for the next hole. And you want these to sit flush so that your next board that lays on top of it doesn't stick out. You want it to be as flat as possible. And there we go. That board's held on. Now, I don't have another one cut yet for this next spot, but I'm going to go ahead and slide my clamps up. Being sure, you see here how we're going through the top. We're screwing through the top. A lot of people don't do that, and on a wood frame house, you don't have to necessarily do that. But if you're in a high wind application like we are here, and also just basically because we're going on this Hardie board, I don't trust plastic strips as much as I do a nice piece of solid 2x4. So because of that, I'd rather have a lot more screws. And what I've been trying to do is, if I put a screw here and a screw here, I skipped this one. So that's 16 inches right there on center, which is standard building practice for like something like this. But then just to make sure it's extra good, I'm coming back through with my through screw right here. So let's go ahead and do that now while we're talking about it. I'll come back through with my through screw over the top of that so that I don't have to worry about drilling through a screw here, so I can go through both of the boards. And I hit the plastic stud. That's good. I'm not drilling through the plastic stud, I'm just touching it so that I make sure it's there. Okay, and I don't normally do them one at a time like this. I'm doing them like this so you guys can get the idea. Normally I do all the steps at once and then go back through and put them on. Okay, and I can't tighten this one down yet because I need my gecko clamps to be able to slide up underneath there. But the point is, even though I skipped the stud here, I caught it here. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And if you plan it like that, and if you're going to do this on ICF, I recommend doing it this way, because if you'll pan down here for a moment at some of the stuff we've already put on previously, you can see there is no pull out on that. I mean, this stuff is bomb-proof. It's not going anywhere. So guys, I'm going to have to finish up here, but basically that's the idea. And I'll come back and I'll put another screw right here. In fact, let me do that right quick because I didn't really talk about that. See, here I'm going through metal, so that involves another step, because I can't run a masonry bit through a piece of steel. So what I have to do is drill it out first. I know it's going to be right here, and again, I'm going through two boards here. Hopefully that makes sense to you. I don't like to go that close to the edge. I should have went over just a little bit to my right. Okay, see, now I'm hitting the middle, that little strap. I can't drill through that, so now I have to switch over to a normal steel drill bit and drill that guy out. And it's got to be a small enough drill bit that whenever I put my screw in, it's still, you know, smaller than the screw that I'm threading it in there with. So last step is I still have to countersink this. And we've been switching over to the screws that the previous owner used. They're outdoor screws, but they're Phillips head, and I kind of hate to do that. Everything else I've been doing is Torx head, but the reason I'm doing that is if you look at the screw that they were using, it's threaded all the way down to the end of the head. If you look at the one I'm using, there's a smooth shank area right here, and that smooth shank, it's getting into the steel. So if I run this into that metal plate, well, it's going to be on the smooth area, and then it's not going to have any holding power. So I have to use this screw. Oh, and by the way, they call these deck screws, the ones that I've been predominantly using on the siding, and I'll hold a box up here in a moment. We'll get a picture of that or something and insert it in the video. They've been fantastic. They're 2-inch, I think, or 2.5. But let's go ahead and get this in so we can wrap this video. So this is a bummer. I have to switch back over to a Phillips bit. Grab the Phillips screw, stick it in, and again, I can't really tighten this all the way right now because I'm gonna do it just for the video, but then I'll have to come loosen it. But see, that's perfect. It pulled it into that steel, it pulled that one all together. So even though I don't have a stud here, I bridged over and made myself a place to attach this corner, because you don't want this, you want a stud, you know, relatively close to the end of the corner. And this one was like beyond 6 inches. So what I was worried about was this was going to twist out and flop out or whatever and not be attached here on the end. And caulking is not enough to hold it. So you need something, a mechanical connector like this, a screw like this. And I can go ahead and tighten this one now. And that's it. I'm not making you hear, you know, a lot of times these impact drivers will go click, 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 click when you hit them real hard. I'm not doing that very often. Unless I'm in wood, then I can do it. But on this ICF, I cannot do that on the plastic strips because it will a lot of times just strip out the plastic. So now that I'm done with this one though, I can snug it all up right quick. We want our screws flush so that when we put caulking on there, you'll hardly notice that they're there. Okay, perfect. All right, guys, that's it. And unless I think of anything else to add, that's pretty much what we've had to come up with, and that's why it's taken us 2 summers to get this front of this house sided. But we're almost there. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So until next time, we'll see you later.
Go.
There it is. All done.